What's up, guys? You're listening to Conversations with Cunningham. I'm here with Matthew Manyak. Did I pronounce your last name right? Yep. Okay, cool, yeah. So we're here with Matthew Manyak. He is the founder, of
CEO
of Alignment
Entertainment, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so he's here to tell us a little bit about what he's got going on today. We're going to talk a little bit about filmmaking and that whole process, and sort of some of the cool, funny things that you encounter when you do that. So Matt, what we like to do here to start out, we like to usually talk about, get to know you a little bit. So the way we do that is go ahead and tell us your most embarrassing moment that you can think of that happened, in your life. It could be in filmmaking, just something embarrassing that's happened to you.
Oof, okay, all right, going straight to the deep questions here. So, okay, probably the most embarrassing thing. I don't think a lot of people would see this as crazy embarrassing, but I was like when it happened, I was like, oh god. But essentially, what happened was I was at a film festival with two other guys. We were representing a music video, and essentially, it was like my first time being at like a larger film festival, and of course they got the paparazzi, they got the cameras, the news anchors, and everybody, and so. ABC or local CNBC or whatever came up and were like, hey, we want to do a live interview with you guys. Just pull us aside. And I was like, okay. And again, I was running off 4 hours of sleep at that point in time. But essentially, what happened was I introduced the people that were with me the wrong way. So I introduced one guy as the other guy and the other guy as the first guy. And I was like, as soon as I said it, I was like, no. But yeah, there was no taking that back. They were fine with it. I don't think anyone really caught on. But in my head, I was like, ugh.
Did you know these guys well, or was it like you just met them?
Oh no, we had worked on multiple projects together for multiple months. So it's even worse.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. All right, so now on the inverse of that, take it back. What would you say is a big proud moment then for you?
Ooh, okay. So, looking at the 7 years that I've been doing this, I think the proudest moment that I've had was with my short film After the Fall. And essentially what happened was, of course, I had gone and made it through the Douglas Anderson Cinematic Arts program in high school. And I had just taken a bunch of shots at the wind trying to see what festivals I could get into. And this was 2 years ago, so I was still kind of relatively new to the whole film festival submission aspect, trying to get my name out there a little bit more. And I saw this one film festival called the Holly Shorts Film Festival. And it was like if you get in, you get your film screened at the Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. And I was like, okay, I want to see how this film holds up with the big dogs. And that's the thought that went through my mind. I was like, submission's $40. Didn't have a crazy lot of money to be throwing at film festival submissions, but I was like, I feel something about this one. So I went, I sent it, didn't hear back for a very long time, and essentially what happened was one morning I wake up and I go about making my breakfast. My mom's out, my dad's working in his office, and my sister's having her breakfast. I'm just making my oatmeal, I check my emails, and I see Holly Shorts pop up. I'm like, oh, that's that festival. And I'm like, okay, so I go and I check in my email and I open it, and it says, thank you for submitting your film, and ... just like it does on your phone. I'm like, okay, cool, another one of these. And so I go and I open it just to make sure, and it's like, congratulations, your film's going to get screened at the Chinese Theater in 3 weeks. And so, like, I screamed, for one. I dropped my breakfast, and, like, my sister was like, Matthew, are you okay? And my dad peeks his head out of his office, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm good. And so I started calling everybody and being like, hey, are you cool with your faces and your names being shown on the screen at the Chinese Theater? No one believed me. That's the hilarious part. But like after I was like, this is really happening, like this is a thing, and it just kept building from there, because we had 3 weeks, and I knew that pretty much as soon as I got the email, right, that if I didn't go, I was going to regret it for the rest of my life. Oh, yeah. And so I was like, okay, how can I get out there? And so we did a cost analysis looking at how much money it would cost, which turned out to be, for like the week of the festival, that we would be screening at to kind of get some nice events in there too, would be about $8,000 for a week. like pretty much all expenses included. And so I got together with the stars of the show and some of the people that were on board, and I was like, who is dead serious on being a part of this and getting out there? And so we kind of came together, me, Brittany, Brianna, and Jordan, and essentially we kind of pooled some money together, and within 3 weeks we had like $7,500 to pull from. And I mean, we didn't hit the mark, but we were still able to make it work. So we flew out for the week, met a lot of really awesome and talented actors and directors, made friends with a director from, I believe, Latvia, who had come out for the film festival, and his film was actually in the running to be nominated for an Academy Award.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of connected there, chatted for a bit. I got to see his film with him, so that was really cool. And yeah, we stayed out for the week, got to meet the CEO and founder of Stage 32, Richard Botto, and it was just an overall really great experience, and that I think was really what one cemented this whole aspect of this is where I'm going with my career, this is it. And like I don't think that I've had a more proud moment since that day.
Yeah, and I think all of us, like especially like entrepreneurs, have to have that moment of like not necessarily like my life sucks, but when you kind of are looking at yourself almost in a I don't even like an out of body experience, and you're watching yourself and you're like, yeah, I got to do something different. This isn't working out for me. But so, for the people who aren't in the film industry, what's really the big importance of like submitting and going to film festivals? Is there anybody who's ever had their career made because of a film festival?
Well, I can tell you that a lot of people have had their careers, I would say, made by a film festival, because a lot of times you'll never hear of a director until they screen at Sundance, and then suddenly everybody's all over that person. But as far as like looking at the importance of film festival submissions and really pushing your name and your projects out to these more prestigious, more like sought after, I guess, venues, it's all about exposure and exposure to the right people, if that makes any sense. But it's essentially what I'm getting at is when you go and you make a film, right, you put, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 months into it. Chances are you want that to go somewhere. Like after putting that much time, effort, money into something, you want to see it go somewhere. It's like raising a kid. And so for me, I learned through my high school program kind of the importance of that, and it was more through experience than any like lesson in a class. But essentially, if you go and you make a film and you put it out on YouTube, there's a million other people doing it just like you on YouTube, and you're like, in my opinion, it's very rare that a film that you put on YouTube is going to go and explode. Right. After the Fall was actually very, like, it was a phenomenon in its own right, in the sense that I put it up there, and because of the film festivals and because of other things that kind of played out, it's closing in on about 300,000 views, which is pretty decent for a short film on YouTube. But then there were some other distro platforms that kind of came into play. The overall film globally, I think, is sitting somewhere around like the 1.8 million range. Oh, nice. Most of those are in China. There was actually a distributor that had messaged me after it screened at the All-American High School Film Festival in 2017 or 2018, and like, hey, we want to screen your film on our platform. And I was like, cool. Can I make money? And they're like, no. But I was like they said that there was really no money to be had at that point. So I was like, it's exposure. I'll play. And and then like a couple months later, I get a little, like they gave me like a full blown status report, like where the views kind of came from, what vicinities, what provinces, and like 1.4 million in 2 weeks on their platform.
Now, I know, in any kind of entertainment industry, like even with, the stuff that I do, comedians, musicians, a huge majority of entertainers work for free, in a way, at least in the very beginning. It's kind of weird. It's one of those things where it's like, say you work for a company, well, you're going to go from, you might make $7.25 an hour, and then, next thing you know, you're the president of the company, and now you're making, $200,000 or something like that. In entertainment, it's like, two different extremes. So it's like you're starting off making zero, absolutely nothing, and then all of a sudden you're a millionaire. So, is that something that motivates you getting to that end point? And on that same, respect too, how hard is it to get people who, aren't really able to work for free or work for a lot of money? How hard is it to get people who are really, really talented, to do things for not much or for very little?
All right, so I guess to go off of, actually, can you repeat that question again? Sorry.
Well, yeah. So basically, just how hard is it? Number one is the motivation, the money, the possibility that if one of my films gets picked up, I'm a millionaire. Or is that motivation for you? Is it just the love of the art? Is it the combination of the two?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love my Lamborghinis. However, I can get one, like legally. But yeah. So like the money is part of it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The money and the fame, that is all part of it. But at the end of the day, what really like is why I do it is you can see it when on any set of Deathless. Which is our big vampire show that Alignment's putting on right now. And essentially, when I go on set, I feel like I'm part of a family. Like, when we started Deathless, like, I met Thomas Curry in, like, a Filmmakers Network meeting, and Thomas is the chief operating officer of Alignment and one of the co-creators of Deathless. And essentially, like, what Deathless has become is it's people from all over the state of Florida, and even actually we've got people coming in from out of state to work on this, and it's really just, I guess, connecting with that sense of unity, like everybody's coming together to create something, and that I think is one of the most magical things that can happen on a film set, and it's through that culmination and that cultivation of this, like, one single vision that this family bond gets formed. And regardless of if you're doing a short film, if you're doing a feature, if you're doing a show, if you're doing a podcast, it's all that the friendship, that relationships that get built, those experiences that you have and the memories that you make. And that is really why I do it, like at heart. Because like as a kid, I was one of the, I guess you could say, outcasts, right? Like I was, no one really could see me going anywhere. No one could see anything happening. I was just the kid that dreamed too big.
Yeah.
And so, of course, there's still that little kid in me that's like, we gotta prove him wrong. But I've kind of been able to separate myself a little bit from that, and now it's taken off, like, away from that, and now it's more like I'm meeting more people that are starting out, and I see that, like, I see myself or parts of myself in these people that are new, that are starting out, that want to learn more. And if I can use a project that I'm doing to give someone starting out an opportunity to jump past like 2, 3, 4 years of what I had to do clueless, then like that is one of the biggest things that I think I can do.
Yeah, I totally understand that perspective. I mean, I remember when I first started comedy, I was 17 and I had a guy who I was just messaging like comedy clubs and places, trying to get on an open mic or something like that, or try to get booked. And, it just wasn't happening. Finally, I met a guy named Troy Robinson who gave me a chance. And there's a video of my first time doing comedy, and it was at a hookah bar. And, I ended up, I had to tell the guy, you have to get me on soon because, I have school in the morning. It was a school night, so I needed to get up soon. I was the next day my throat hurt so much because, all the smoke in the hookah bar. But just the fact that someone gave me a chance meant so much to me. And so that's what I try to do with my business as well is, there's some times where I'll give someone a chance and then I'll be like, oh, yeah, that may have been a mistake. But then there's times where I'll give someone a chance and it goes really well. So, with these new people, these up and coming actors who you're helping out, giving them shots in these in your films and things like that, and your series, is there anybody who really sticks out to you, who's really made a big impression, and you think they're going to really hit it big one day?
Yeah, so actually, it's very funny that you asked me that question right now because Alignment Entertainment, we actually recently had a little bit of an internal pitch session with two short films that we kind of worked with people on. And it was just people that were working on Deathless and our other projects that kind of were like, we want to make a short film. And I was like, cool. But essentially, back in my last semester at FSU, I went to the film club one night just kind of to connect and network and meet people and do some little bit of scouting for Deathless to kind of get some new PAs, get some crew on board. And I introduced myself, and I guess people had already kind of heard of the project or heard of me or something like that. And this one guy, he was sitting in the back, and he comes up to me after after the session or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, can I get your business card? I want to talk more about being a part of your show." And I mean, there were a couple other people that had kind of come up for my card and were asking them to be part of it. But I don't know, something about this guy, he just kind of stuck out to me, and I was like, I remembered him. And essentially what happened is we started talking a little bit more, and a lot of the other people that kind of came up for my card, they started to trickle out and fall out. So we kind of weeded out the weak ones. But then this particular individual, he stayed with it and kept up with me for like the longest time. I was like, we're getting this guy on the project. And he had some like film, video experience previous, but nothing too like oh my God, it's Steven Spielberg,
Yeah.
or anything like that. But he came on board willing to learn, willing to try out new things, and willing to just give his all to the project. And he kind of like I watched him go like every chance that he had to learn something or to like ask a question so he could better understand it himself, he did. And that was really cool to see. And then when the pitches came around, he came in to present, and I was like, I see you. And he had actually pitched this I call it thriller, about a cannibal hospital, and like it's like this really interesting thriller that he wrote and subsequently directed. And so Daniel Marrero is a really, really driven individual, and I think that from what I witnessed on set, because let me tell you, when I watched him on set, it was like something different for me. Like, I'm used to running 200 miles an hour for 8 hours straight on set, just doing everything that I can. But for that particular set, I was just like a fly on the wall, just executive supervision from the company, because it ended up getting picked up as a company project. And the way that he handled himself, the way that he worked with his crew, was very professional and real. I can see a lot of growth in just like the 4 to 6 months that he, from the guy that I met in film club to now, there's no comparison. They're like two completely different people. It's been really, really great to see that growth in him.
Oh yeah. Now I see. A lot of the stuff that you guys have put out or is in the works with you. Number one. So I actually auditioned for a part of your show, and then because of different things I wasn't able to do it because things came up with my business. But the script that I read from that you guys sent me, I don't know if it's did you pull that from somewhere or did you guys write that?
The audition script?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the audition scripts were actually just pre-written monologues that we pulled from Google. Essentially, how we worked the auditions was we had a pre-screener, which was just like 2 monologues, pretty different in overall style. But then we kind of went a little bit further. Like, so after that, after that first round, we kind of cast our background, and supporting, and then we kind of brought in the actual scripts and excerpts from the actual scripts to give to the people that were still kind of in the running, and we didn't quite know who was going to play what. And then from there is how we picked our leads and our more key supporting actors and talent. And I find that having that initial pre-screener, it allows one, the people that do end up becoming the leads a little more time to kind of get to know you beforehand, and it really plays into not just the performance but the bond that you guys can make and share through creating, because it's like even just like an extra 2 weeks of knowing someone, it's going to play out a lot different than it will if it's just like, oh, I've only known you for a week, that kind of deal.
Exactly. Well, and you guys do, so it seems like you guys do a lot of like, sort of thriller-esque, like, I guess, dark kind of, films and series and things like that. Is that sort of your favorite genre to do? Is there, do you have a favorite genre to do? Is there other stuff you want to break into?
So as far as my personal favorite genre, anyone that knows me will tell you that I love post-apocalyptic films, dystopian sci-fi, all that. That is my vein. But when it comes to the company, actually, the fact that our slate is so much thriller, and so dark and gritty, that's actually just been completely coincidental.
Oh, really?
Everybody's just been pitching like thrillers and horror and in that genre, that darkness, and I'm like okay, like that's cool for now, but I would like to see a bit more of a branch out into something different. I know with our new upcoming pitch sessions in March, which are still going to be internal at this point. I know that I'm going to be looking for things that are more in like the drama, the true story, things that can really connect with a like. I must say larger audience. I mean, even vampire audiences are pretty large, but something that can place us a little bit higher in some of these film festivals. I think Deathless is going to be really, really good for like a variety of reasons, but I would like to see more growth and more diversity in the projects that Alignment does, and so I'm pushing for a little bit more of that this coming March when we have our pitch sessions.
Gotcha. Now, I've been lucky enough to read the script. Obviously, I'm not going to give anything away on here, but I've already got sort of ideas in my head about why I like Deathless, what I think it does to set itself apart from everything else that's been out there. But I kind of want to get it from your mouth. How do you think Deathless stands apart from something like True Blood or like Vampire Diaries or one of these big mainstream vampire movies or series?
Okay, so it's actually very, very funny. When Thomas first pitched me the scripts, essentially, he was just like, "Hey, like I've got these scripts. Can I show them to you?" And like at the time, I didn't have anything really major on my plate. I was like, "Sure, what is it?" And he's like, "It's a vampire script." And I was like, "Oh." Because the first thing that goes in my head is like Twilight, Underworld. So it's like it's either going to be romanticized or I don't take myself seriously. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna go read them, and so I read them, and I was like, this is one of the best damn scripts that I've ever read. Like outside of the professional Hollywood industry, because it touches on so many like modern and contemporary like cultural social issues. Like it's very rare that you see something that is able to blend all of those like contemporary political issues and social and cultural stuff with, say, vampires. Like finding something that weaves those two together very well is rare, and I think Deathless is one of those.
And I think this is going to be a top compliment coming from me. But I mean, I think like there's definitely a lot of good metaphors in there. Without going too deep in it, a lot of like metaphors for like racism, and even potentially like drug use and stuff like that. And I think you guys do something great that I think the only people who really have perfected it is like Marvel. Whereas like you see like some of the Marvel movies. What first comes to mind is Captain America. I think is the Winter Soldier, and that was just great. Just did great when it comes to like metaphors and foreshadowing and things like that. And that's definitely one thing I'm looking forward to seeing on the big screen or small screen whenever it does, whenever the project comes out. So on that note too, I want to do a little fun game with you.
Ooh, okay.
So this is going to be called Movie Fights. and there's also a TV fights one. So this sort of relies on you having seen these movies before, but you seem like you're probably sort of a cinephile. So no, yeah. Do you watch a lot of movies?
I used to, and I need to start watching more. It really like I've been so focused on creating that I haven't had the time to really go and watch movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, between you and me and everybody out there, I've never seen Forrest Gump.
What?
Yep.
Oh man, that's one of the ones on there.
That's the first one.
I know, that's the first one. Forrest Gump, that's my all-time favorite movie. I can't believe you've never seen it.
No, it's sad. I know. I'm really trying to jump back into watching more movies in 2019.
Yeah.
Trying is the key word.
Well, and I don't know if you are afflicted with this, but so I do, stand-up comedy, and a lot of the people I work with are stand-up comics. Do you have so for me, I never want to watch whatever the newest stand-up special is because I don't want that to bleed into my work. Like, I don't want to accidentally steal someone's joke or have a joke be too derivative. Is that something that is similar with you when it comes to filmmaking?
Probably. I'm gonna say no. For me, the whole aspect of like not going to the movies or not seeing movies as much as I would like to is just it's literally just time. Between Alignment and a couple other companies that I'm a part of, I maybe get 6 hours of free time a week. So and that doesn't count the 6 hours that I spend driving back and forth to Tallahassee between here and St. Augustine. But like I recently just went to go see Alita: Battle Angel at the theater. Like I was exhausted. I was like, I need to go see a movie, and that was out. And I was like, I'm gonna go see this.
Oh yeah. All right, so we'll give this a try.
You're probably gonna on this.
Well, this really there's no way to lose. I mean, basically, so the premise of the way it would work if you watched enough movies is that I would give you two movies to compare, and then you would basically say why one is better than the other.
Gotcha.
Have you ever seen Radio?
No.
No. Okay. We're just gonna roll through this and see if we've seen any of these. All right. The original Conjuring.
Like Conjuring.
Yes.
Okay, I've seen the first one.
Have you seen the remake?
Wait, there was an original?
Yeah.
Like when?
Like old, like 70s, 80s,
Okay,
like
yeah,
old.
I've
Not even
seen
say.
that one.
Oh, but you've seen the remake of the
I've seen the
Conjuring.
remake, yeah.
What did you think of that?
I thought it didn't live up to its expectations for like all the hype that I saw. Like, I mean, granted, I was watching on like my shitty TV at home, but like.
I feel like scary movies is one of those things you have to see in the theater.
Yeah.
I think it just works so much better if like you feel the fear of everyone else in the room.
Yeah, you see it on the big screen, and you hear like every little thing from like the 7.1 surround sound that they have in the theaters. Oh, yeah. Like seeing it on the TV, it's like what was it? Gravity. It doesn't do it justice on the small screen.
Yeah. So okay, so sticking on the same kind of genre. Did you ever see the original It movie with the clown?
No.
No. What about the remake?
I did.
Okay. What did you think of the remake?
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome, and I'll get a lot of hate for this. I have seen the original and the remake, and I think the remake's better. I'll get a lot of hate for it, but my personal opinion was that, like, I think CGI was really good for that movie because when you're playing on people's fears, like, I think to have something that's crazy abnormal is really good. Like, there's two scenes that really stuck out for me for that movie was the first one where Pennywise is inside, like, I don't know if it's like a mini fridge or whatever it is. It's something weird. It's like some sort of box when the kids break into the house. And then so they open up the lid to it, and all of his bones are broken, and he starts like falling out of the chest or whatever it is. And that one was awesome. And also a scene I really loved. It got memed the hell out of it, but I thought it was super creepy and awesome. Was the scene where he's dancing on the stage, and his head is still, but everything else is moving. I love that. What was for you the best part? What did you appreciate the most from that movie?
Well, for one, I think that it did a really, really good job of captivating the audience, but then again, just like you said, honing in on that fear aspect. I loved the way, just like you said, when he pops out of the chest or whatever, and he's like dilapidated in contortion, like that was, I love that. I love that so much. And then the whole scene, of course, with Georgie and the storm drain, that was beautiful.
Oh yeah. And one thing that I loved about that as well was that that they did such a good job. The writers did such. Oh shit! Hold timeout. All right. So one thing I loved about that was that the writers did a really, really excellent job about keeping it lighthearted as well, and I think that made the scary parts scarier. Is like, they would catch you off guard with some laughter and humor, and then get right back into like them trying to scare you. So I know that Thomas is a big Marvel geek. Are you kind of the same way about those movies?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cool. So this will be a good one. So, which was better? Is it the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland's rendition of Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming?
Okay, so I do get a lot. Just like you said, you got a lot of hate for your comment earlier. I get a lot of hate for this. Tom Holland.
Oh yeah, no, I see, and I don't know. There's people out there who think the other. Here's kind of the way I see it. I think Tobey Maguire, was a great Spider-Man. I think he played that part really well. I think Andrew Garfield played the part of like awkward Peter Parker really well, and he wasn't a bad Spider-Man. The thing that I hated with that series, I loved the first movie. The second one would have been awesome if they didn't turn it into Electro the Musical, which was super annoying to me. And I was trying to justify in my head while I was watching it why it's cool, because Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero. So I want to go in liking the movie. And, it didn't live up to the hype. But, Tom Holland does an awesome job. And when there were talks about recasting and Marvel doing it, I pretty much 100% trust what Marvel does, so I wasn't really worried at all. So are you looking forward to the new, number one, Infinity Wars? Actually, we got a bunch of movies coming up, because you got to go see Captain Marvel, which comes out this month, March?
I think so.
Then we have Endgame.
Yep.
Which comes out on my birthday, April 26th.
Hey.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be doing for my birthday. And then we have Spider-Man, which comes out in May, I think, right? Is that right?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's May. I'll have my people, which is my wife, fact check that for me. But so now, sort of same thing, but let's move on to TV shows. I tried to just nail it to hyped up TV shows. So, do you watch more TV than movies, or no?
No, I watch more movies than TV, and that's saying something.
Okay, yeah, we're in trouble. So, have you ever seen Dexter? No? Oh, man, you got to see Dexter. What about Barry on Showtime? No. See, this would have been good insight, people. Good insight. That's all right. All right, Walking Dead versus the Game of Thrones.
I mean, I can't say I've seen Walking Dead, but Game of Thrones is my pride and joy, my love. So Game of Thrones beats everything on that list.
Really? I think Game of Thrones was just such a hyped up. I don't know. I'm kind of I don't know. I'm kind of how you felt on one of the other things that we talked about. I can't even remember now, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like I've seen like one episode. Although there's a lot of pretty attractive naked girls in it, so I mean that always kind of saves it for me. So I watch all the good parts. No, but again, back on vampires, True Blood versus Vampire Diaries.
Okay, this is gonna sound really, really awful, but I haven't seen either.
Really, you haven't seen either one? Was that intentional? Do you think now that you were making a vampire show, you're sort of obligated to do it, or no?
Yeah, it'd probably behoove me to kind of go back and watch to see, like, okay, when we're pitching this to like some sort like our distribution partners, how do we really delineate Deathless from everything else that's out there? Because right now it's just been me focusing primarily on making this project the best it can be as director. I think that I've been relying a lot on the team because the team's is very, very familiarized with like True Blood, Vampire Diaries, the originals, Legacies, and whatever other shows are out there on vampires. So I kind of trust them to kind of tell me at this point how each thing differs. But I mean, yes, being CEO would probably be a very good idea to go and be like, okay, this is different because.
Yeah. Well, and also, so, you're talking about sort of differentiating yourself from others, which in the entertainment industry is generally kind of the opposite of what you want to do, where it's like, think to like pop music, where you have all these pop entertainers who kind of sound the same because that's what the recording artists, the recording labels are looking for. Is that different in the film industry? Do you really want to set yourself apart, or do you also have to kind of think about pandering to a certain audience to make sure that you can get the kind of views that you're looking for?
I think at one point in time it was a lot of audience pandering, and I think that there's still a good amount of that in the industry today. However, I think with what we're trying to do here with being different, because in recent years, I'm sure you've even noticed, like there's been a increasing trend on the types of films that are being put out. You're like, of course, you're still seeing your blockbusters and your like the movies that just get made just to make money. But at the end of the day, all the ones that people really talk about for the longest times are the ones that are unique in some way, the ones that kind of aspire to connect to something greater and something higher. And particularly in like just the past couple of years, we've seen like this surge in films that kind of connect to these cultural and societal issues, racism, class discrimination, like the whole like Me Too movement, homosexual content, and like the whole LGBTQ movement. You're seeing a surge in this creative diversity that blends like traditional creativity and like even some of that blockbuster stuff into like the cultural, social justice issues and merging the two. And I think Deathless is going to be coming in that initial buy-in window per se to this much larger upscale that I think is about to happen, and that we're already kind of experiencing and witnessing in the film industry. Like you're seeing like at this point a command for more female representation, more African American representation, and I think what Deathless is also doing is it's bringing in all of that even from behind the scenes, right? Like Deathless has been tried to have been made 3 times now. This will be the third time that there's been different leadership, different crews, different everything, and this time I want to say, or I believe that it's the most diverse that it's ever been, and it's the most I forget the word, but like we're essentially like we've got women in executive positions, not just in front of the camera but behind the camera. Like we've got an amazing everybody's on the project is amazing, but we've got some really, really gifted and driven executive producers, Patsy, Bree, Thomas, like everybody on the back end that's really making this happen. Is like everybody's from different walks of life, different ethnic groups and stuff like that. Like it's really, really cool just to see all that come together and make something that everybody can be proud of.
Yeah, one thing I'm glad you brought up was sort of like the diversity, and people are going this way and this way. There's a lot of debate about it because there's people who will say, I think I don't even know if there's any truth to it or not, but I saw a news article the other day that said that like Marvel is doing their first transgender superhero or something like that. So, as somebody who's like really in the filmmaking process and stuff like this, do you see not necessarily a need for it. I guess sort of my perspective of thinking is, you know, if it makes sense, or even like, okay, so I would say this, for example, like when Andrew Garfield was playing Spider-Man, there was a call for Spider-Man to be gay. He wanted there to be like a gay story arc with Spider-Man. And now, for me, I was like kind of against that because I'm like, well, in the comics, and he's not gay. It's sort of like the same thing where there's people who want Peter Parker to be black. Well, we don't need Peter Parker to be black. There is a black Spider-Man. So
Miles, right?
Yeah, Miles Morales. So why not just make a movie about him? So I guess my question is, do you see a need to make characters a certain way, just to appease a crowd, or do you want there to be more meaning behind it, like them being transgender has a bigger effect on the movie, or would you want there to be someone who is transgender, but it may not even necessarily ever be brought up? They're just another person. From a creative direction, how would you go about it?
Well, I do agree that personally, I think that there needs to be some sort of justification for it, because just like you said in the source material, like with Peter Parker being gay, right? Like it wasn't like that in the comics. However, I think that if there's a justification that fits into the context of the story arc that's being told, I think that would be something that like Marvel or whatever like company group whatever could exercise. Like I just think that it shouldn't be done just for the sake of being done, because then no one's going to be like happy about it, and it's going to probably not even turn out that great. But if there's a way to weave in that justification, to weave in that reality of it, I think that will help to maintain the connection that the public has with superheroes, that's lasted for like years now.
For sure. Yeah. So before we get out of here, let's real quick, when it comes to Deathless, I know that's your biggest project that you're pretty much working on right now. What is sort of your timeline? Do you have one? Do you have is there going to be a submission process for that? How can the people expect to see it in the coming months or years or whatever?
So right now, Deathless is in production until early April of this year. So actually, that's only a few more weeks now. So it's getting close to the end here. But so production is going to wrap like early April. Then post, I think, is going to take us, I'm going to go ahead and say October, November. Mm-hmm. And then from there, of course, we're going to be trying to shop it to distributors between like April and October. But I think that if we do the film festival route, 2020, at the earliest, if we go with a distributor, like say Netflix comes in and is like, hey, we like that. Excuse me. If Netflix or Hulu or whatever, if they like it and they want it, then of course, like they buy it and then they choose when it gets distributed and then stuff like that. But from right now, I would like to see Deathless released in 2020.
For sure. So any last final words, anything you want to get out there in terms of the work you have going on, a way for people to donate to the show, your social media, anything like that?
Yeah, so we Alignment Entertainment has an Instagram and a Facebook and a website right now. So the website is just www.alignmententertainment.com. Instagram and Facebook are the exact same, minus the www and the .com. And then I've got my personal Matthew Manyak. I've got Instagram at director double M, and then Instagram, Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. I had a Snapchat. People hate me for getting rid of it, but I don't use Snapchat. So Deathless 2020. We've also got YMN TV, which is a really cool short film that we've got in post-production right now. That I'm targeting for release later this year. I was executive producer on that. And then we've also got a documentary series that we just finished a pilot for based on the Act House, which is a entrepreneurship incubator local in Tallahassee. I can't really go into too much depth on that right now just because there isn't really much to say on the finished product right now. But we're hoping to really dive into a full-blown documentary at the end of this year. And we got some really, really exciting things planned for 2020 and beyond. Some series, some shorts, and some features that we have in the pipeline. But yeah, so definitely go check out our social media, Alignment Entertainment, and you can see all of what we got right now on YouTube. Just search Alignment Entertainment or Deathless or both. That'd probably be better. And yeah, just check us out. Leave comments, subscribe, and yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for coming and doing this with us, Matt. And everybody, thanks for listening, and we hope you have a great day.
I mean,